Hello, everyone. Happy second half of chapter 7. We're reading Addison Cook and the Treasure of the Incas, and I wanted to say hello to my grandsons, Nathaniel and Aaron, that I heard are watching, which is fantastic because they live several thousand miles away, so we don't get to see each other very often. I love you, and kiss your other brothers and everybody else for me. Okay, the last we left Addison and his crew, they had been robbed. So, and they chased after the young girl who robbed them, but they weren't able to catch her. Fuming, Addison led his crew along narrow alleys, waded through a flock of passing sheep, and crossed a junkyard where a forlorn mule chomped at crabgrass. "It's getting dark," said Molly, blowing a stray wisp of hair from her eyes. "We have no money, and we have nowhere to stay." "Molly," Addison said impatiently, raising one hand in the air, "you are very quick to take a glass half empty view of things. I prefer to say that we have nothing tying us down." He consulted his map. "We'll find the location to the next key near the river. We've come this far. We must be close." "We don't even have any money now. How are we supposed to even get out of here?" Eddie was a champion worrier, and once his thoughts began spiraling, they often flew into a tailspin. "We could be stuck in Columbia for years, and we're supposed to be back at school on Monday. I need to get good grades if I'm going to get into a decent college." "Take a good look around, Eddie." Raj gestured to the festering warren of alleyways teeming with cut purses and desperados. He breathed deeply. "You're in life's classroom right now." Following his compass, Addison led the band through a shanty town in the gathering darkness. A sinewy woman with crackled mahogany skin ground cassava in a mortar bowl and boiled malanga leaves. The evening air smelled sweet with the fragrance of gardenias. "Here we are," Addison announced at last, looking up from his map. He reached the end of the trashed cluttered lane, turned the corner, and spread his arms dramatically. "The Forgotten River!" To his amazement, the river was just a trickle of muddy ooze. "No wonder they forgot about it," said Molly. Addison struggled to hide his disappointment. To be fair, the clue was written 500 years ago. I'm sure back in the day it was a fantastic river. The Frank's Pizza of rivers. Bells tolled from the cathedral. The team trudged to the front of the church and flopped down in a tired heap. "We found the Forgotten River," said Eddie. "Now what?" "I'm not sure," Addison admitted, rubbing his tired legs. "The Cook brain runs more smoothly after a moment's rest." "I'm hungry," said Eddie. "I miss Restaurant Anatolia, best Turkish restaurant in the city." "Eddie, when we find that treasure, you can afford all the Turkish food you want. You can buy Restaurant Anatolia and sleep in a bed of kebabs if you want to. I'll settle for that." "We shouldn't be thinking about ourselves," said Molly. "Aunt Delia and Uncle Nigel have been kidnapped for nearly 24 hours now." "Molly, I haven't even begun to think about not thinking about our aunt and uncle." Addison took off his wingtips and felt the cool cobblestones through his dress socks. Eddie plopped down beside him. "I don't mean to sound defeatist, Addison, but this is completely impossible. If this Incan treasure's been around for centuries, how come no one's found it yet?" "Because no one had my uncle's key. Any treasure hunter who came before us were just fumbling around in the dark. They didn't even know where to begin." "We have the key, and we don't know where to begin," Molly shrugged. Eddie bobbed his head in agreement. "What if Rhagar beats us to the punch? He has a head start. Plus, he has your aunt and uncle. They're experts. The sunset cast long shadows across the cobblestone courtyard of the cathedral. Darkness was falling fast. Addison could tell his team felt just as frazzled as he did. He shook his head. My aunt and uncle won't help, Rhagar. They'll provide clever clues that sound right, but are deliberately wrong. Molly sighed. They can't fool him forever, Addison. Probably not, but they can slow him down, and that gives us a chance. Raj could never sit still for long. He explored the looming walls of the ancient cathedral, peppered with Gothic spires, snarling gargoyles, and vaulted archways. Eddie, can you read that plaque by the door? Eddie glanced up. Yeah, probably. It's in English. Oh, said Raj, embarrassed. For tourists, I guess. Raj crossed to the sign and read it aloud. This church is the Cathedral of Lost Souls. It was built in the time of Francisco Pizarro. What's that about Frank's Pizza? Eddie asked. Built just after Pizarro's conquistadors defeated the Incas, Raj continued, reading the chiseled calligraphy on the plaque. Addison turned to examine the cathedral with sudden interest. So this old heap is 500 years old? His eyes zeroed in on a carved stone crest that crowned the portico over the massive double doors, and the Addison Cook brain finally flickered into gear. Benedict Arnold, he exclaimed, leaping to his feet. I've seen that crest before. Raj, you're a genius. I am? Well, one of us is, because now we have a clue. Addison flipped through the sketches in his pocket notebook until he found the right page. He pointed a finger triumphantly at the coat of arms, a shield supported by 2 fire-breathing dragons. It matched the crest on the cathedral. There, the crest of Diego Almagro II. Diego de Almagro II. Diego who? Asked Eddie. I think maybe Addison has heat stroke, Molly said. I copied this down from one of the Incan books. Do you guys realize who Diego de Almagro II is? Diego de Almagro I's son? Diego, Addison announced, pausing for dramatic effect, is the man who killed Francisco Pizarro. That is so rock and roll, said Raj. Molly, mystified, mulled this over. Wait, so how is this a clue? Look, said Addison, his 4-cylinder words struggling to keep up with his 6-cylinder brain. Diego's father was Spanish, but his mother was a local tribeswoman. Diego sided with the Incas. He helped them kill their greatest enemy, Pizarro. The light snapped in on Molly's eyes. So if Diego built this cathedral, it was a safe place for the Incas to hide their second key, Addison grinned. That makes sense, said Eddie, bobbing his head. Guadalupe said that there were only 3 things worth seeing in Olvidados: the cathedral, the llama farm, and the giant pile of rubber tires. If I had to find a 500-year-old Incan key in this town, I'd start with a 500-year-old cathedral. Addison hastily slipped his shoes back on. We've got to get inside this church. Molly hesitated. If we want to rescue Aunt Delia and Uncle Nigel, why wouldn't we just hide here until Professor Rhagar arrives? Why go after the key? We don't want to risk the treasure falling into the wrong hands, Addison declared. We want it to fall into the right hands. Our hands, Eddie specified, rubbing his hands together. Well, the Cathedral of Lost Souls is closed for the night, said Molly, pointing to a sign over the door. Nothing is closed to an open mind, said Addison. And that is the end of chapter 7. All right, we will be reading chapter 8 shortly. I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you so much. Bye.